I almost did it again. I almost did it again. I almost went live without. I almost went live without hitting that live button on the software. So it's clear that I have to get used to using StreamYard. So welcome to Locs Talk Live. My name is Pammie. Thank you. Come on in. I'm going to give y'all a little bit of time to come in the room because tonight's Locs Talk Live is focused on going natural. But I want you to understand the theme of what all of my Locs Talk Lives have kind of focused around this month, if you haven't already noticed, is that I intertwine and talk about the effects that hair maintenance can and cannot have on your mental health. So tonight's Locs Talk Live is another Locs Talk that's going to talk about going natural. And you'll understand why this one is a bigger connection to mental health awareness, because a lot of people don't connect the two, and they are very connected. So come on in. Welcome to Locs Talk Live. I am looking, see what as when you come in, please hit that like button. Thank you very much. Again, if you see up here in the left-hand corner, Locs Talk Live tonight is streamed using the software by StreamYard. The link is in my description below, which also timeline of tonight's discussion will also be there, where you can just click on the time for the specific point of the conversation that you want to zoom right to. So let's get started, right? As you come in, just say hello so I know that you're in the room and whatnot. Hello, my name is Pammie. I want to make sure I'm not muted. Am I muted? No, I'm not muted. Hello, my name is Pammie. I am a loctician, organic, loose natural hair care provider, and a lockologist. What are those three titles? A loctician, of course, is what it is. I start, maintain, support, right, and educate you through your lock journey. So that is the status of what I am, what I represent as a loctician. I'm not just someone that sits you in my chair and I do your locks and send you on your way. If you're having mental challenges in connection to adjusting to having locks, I'm here to support you through that. And especially with education. Any of my clients, if you wound up popping in the chat room, y'all can attest, I stay educating y'all and making sure you understand what it is to take care of your hair, because that's very important. Organic, loose natural hair specialist. Now you will have a better understanding why the title is Organic Loose Natural Hair Care Specialist, because there are more than one way of managing your natural hair. I am a organic loose natural hair care provider. And what that means is I care for your hair in its natural state. I do not do anything to alter your hair as far as the texture or anything like straighten it in it. And that includes using any chemical treatments such as relaxers, perms, texturizers, jerry curl, or they call it Gina curl now, but it's a jerry curl. I don't do those. And I also do not straighten or change the texture of your hair via the use of high heat, such as flat ironing and things like that. Your hair is cared for within its natural state. So whatever your curl pattern is, it remains that throughout the process of doing your hair. For the most part, when needed, I will dry your hair, but not with a hot, super hot smoking dryer. I will dry your hair to remove excess moisture before doing your hair. Lockologist, simply put, it is the study of locks. Anything followed by ology is the study of. So a lockologist, I am just studying locks from its origins to evolving changes that happen because the lock community is an ever evolving community. Right. Um, so let's get this started. What am I doing? I moved something here. My banners. Hold on. Yeah. All right. Okay. So again, we are talking about going natural, right? So going natural, I have my notebook here too because, like I said, there's a lot to cover. I'm probably going to go over the hour this tonight because of the amount of stuff that I need to cover, and that's okay, right? Um, so we're going to talk about methods that of going natural, different reasons or necessities of why people go natural, and or cutting their hair off, the effects hair loss or cutting your hair can have on your psyche. You know, that's important. But going into it, I'm going to say going natural is more mental than it is physically taking a scissor to your hair and cutting off hair that you don't want, that is not your natural hair. Okay? It really, really is. Right? So again, going natural is both a mental process and a physical change. It is. Going natural is both a mental process and a physical change. And with that being said, I'm going to start with my own personal story. Right? So, again, my name is Pammie. I will soon be 49 years young. All my life, my mom was a cosmetologist, as I had mentioned before. Um, for my early childhood years, I don't want to, I say that lightly because as you listen to the story, you'll understand. My hair was kept natural, right? But when there was special occasions, and you see a lot of memes about it too, like when Easter Sunday is coming, or special holidays, or picture day at school, or some of that stuff. Here come the hot comb and the clackers, the curlers, right? So on occasion, I would get a silk press, curls, and she would do like little pigtails and with bows and barrettes and beads and all of that stuff. And we just be looking all pretty and cute, right? So fast forward the year I'm about to start fourth grade. My mom, of course, was getting us prepared and doing our hair and stuff and getting us ready for school, for another year of school. But that year, what was different was not me, but my sisters got their first relaxers, but I didn't. I was mad as hell. I was like, well, I'm not getting one, right? So, because of that, unfortunately, I was whining, like, why the hell what? So I'm going to pause there and give you the reason why. And I'm going to retouch on this later on. But the reason why I didn't get a relaxer, most of you might think it's because I was only 9 years old. That had nothing to do with it. Zero to do with it. The reason why I didn't get a relaxer was because a year and a half prior to that, because I was a sickly child, my immune system had dropped a lot. And that affected my body and how my scalp reacted to holding on to my hair. And I suffered a really bad case of alopecia areata. And my hair fell out in huge chunks. And I had just little patches of a little bit of hair throughout my head, but I mostly was bald, like skin bald. The traumatic effect something like that can have on a 7.5, 8-year-old girl, I'm going to come back to that. But that's why my mother did not relax my hair, because she wasn't sure how my scalp was going to react to a chemical processing. Even though she was a cosmetologist and she knew how to weaken it to make it less invasive, she was not, no. Later on, she got clearance from my doctor. He said it was okay. And she caved after I've been probably in her ear for like an entire year. Like, Mom, every time she did a touch up on my sister's hair, I was whining. So yeah, a whole year. The following year, just before I was going to the 5th grade, she caved and she gave me my first relaxer. Yay! I'm all happy and stuff. But if I knew then what I know now, I would have never done none of that. Or maybe I probably would have, because I was a kid. You know, our minds don't work the same way they do when we're adults, right? So hold on, I have a comment here. Hello, Lele. How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to come back to the comments. So if you have any questions, please post it. Okay. So moving forward, fast forward. Now, going through a little time loop, right? About 20 years forward, like clockwork on a regular basis. Creamy crack was my thing. Touch up. Boom. Like every 2 to 2.5 months, I was doing a touch up, right? And I was doing it properly, so I never suffered any chemical burns or nothing to my scalp. I think the one time I did is when I went to the salon and they did it and they was massaging it in my scalp like it was lotion. You're out of your mind. And that was the last time I allowed a salon to put a relaxer in my hair. The rest of the time, it was either me, my sisters, somebody, but I would not. No. But fast forward about 20 years into the future. I'm 29 years old. I become pregnant with my second son. I have 3 sons. And I decided in the beginning of that pregnancy, I'm going to do this all naturally. I'm not going to process my hair at all in any way, shape, or form. I'm not going to color it, do nothing. I'm just going to let it do. I'm going to just let it sit and do its thing. I'm going to eat right. I'm going to have natural birth. I'm going to breastfeed him exclusively. All of those things. And life happened because my sister, God rest her soul, became very ill because she suffered from lupus. And she became very ill, and I was a primary caregiver for her. So I was able to do all of those things, but now it switched from being a conscious decision to be all natural to that had to be put on the back burner anyway because I had to take care of my sister. So I did maintain and not process my hair. I ate right. I made sure I ate because, I was growing a baby. Look fun in the oven. Fast forward, helping her through her stuff, getting through my pregnancy as best as I possibly can with as little to no stress, which I managed to do, thank goodness. But it's very hard. If you have ever been a caregiver for a family member or a loved one with a chronic illness, it is very challenging up here mentally. It can really take a toll on your psyche. But with a lot of prayer, meditation, I managed to get through that, and I thank God for it every day. I truly think that my baby had something to do with it because he's still a very zenful and cool and calm person now as an adult. He was born at the end of the year in December. About 2 or 3 weeks after he was born, I had maybe 5.5 to 6 inches of new growth, right? Now I'm proud of myself. I was like, oh, I grew out my hair. But in those 3 weeks, again, a lot of stuff was happening in life. And I said to myself, I want to stay natural. I'm breastfeeding. I have to be careful. I still can't do this. But now, the mental part of it, got the best of me. I can't maintain this natural hair right now. It's too much. I can't deal with this. I want this so much, but I just can't. I don't have the mental capacity to handle this right now. And I caved. And I gave myself a mild relaxer. I didn't even leave it on maybe 10 minutes, just enough so that I can maintain my hair more easily, right? And this is something that happens often when we go natural. We'll go for months and months and grow out so much of our hair, and especially when you choose the second part of choosing to grow and trim, and you find it more difficult now. Oh, this is too hard. I don't know if I can, because of the mentality. You don't have the mental capacity to continue to take care of your natural hair. You realize that it is more when it comes to taking care of your natural hair versus the easier route. It's easy to choose the easier path, but you still have to balance out the harm that it can cause you. So you're going to be affected one way or the other, right? So let's moving into it. This is why I said going natural is both a mental process as well as a physical process. And believe it or not, the physical process is the easier part. So a month after that relaxer, I had a moment. I would like to call it an epiphany or awakening. And I was like, what are you doing? You said you were going to do this. You're going to do this. Now get your mind right, sis. I do a lot of self-checking moments, like when I want to do something and I feel myself kind of fading back into the background again because of the effects it could be having on me. And that's a self-checking moment for me. Now, it don't mean that I'm going to be hard on myself. And I'm going to close with why I said that, okay? You don't be hard on yourself. But a self-checking moment is really just a reflection moment. Take a minute and think about what you said you wanted to do. Think about the reasons for it and all of those things. Remind yourself why you are doing this. This is why it's important to know your whys, okay? Without it, it's easy to give up without knowing what you are doing it for, right? So moving forward, now let's get into some of the important things you need to know before you decide that you want to go into your natural journey. Because for some, it's a choice. For others, it's involuntary. And we're going to get into that in this talk as well. So let's move down to the two things. There's two things that you're going to need moving into this. The first one, when I cut my hair the first time, I didn't tell anybody that I was going to cut my hair. I just went in the bathroom with my hair scissors and I started like about right here. And I went G.I. Jane. I just cut it all off. And oftentimes when you see a person make a dramatic change like that and they didn't say anything, the first thing that people who have an awareness of mental health is, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I did this on purpose. I wanted to do it. And I felt free when I did. But I did get a lot of feedback. And it wasn't positive. What did you do? Why'd you cut off all your hair? Your hair was so nice and long and beautiful. And this is because we have subscribed to the idea that long, luxurious hair that's straight and flat and is the beauty standard that we are to live by. That ain't us, baby. Our hair grows towards the sun. We have natural curls. And We didn't hear enough of that. And I'm not going to fault my mom for it or anything. It's just something that was passed down. And it takes 3 generations or more to reverse certain things that can be toxic within yourself and your spirit and your cells, right? So with all that negativity, a lot of people like to say, "Oh, I don't care. I don't give about what anybody has to say about me." Listen, when it comes to negativity and people saying, yeah, you don't have to give a crap about that, but we do care about what people think when it's somebody that we really care about and when their opinions matter, right? So the first thing that you are going to need is the mental capacity to not give as you see here, what others think in the choices that you make for yourself, for you. This is my choice. You ain't got to wear it. It ain't your head. Mind your business, right? Especially when they saying negative stuff. I don't care what you have to say. I don't need you to be fake and just give me all these fake affirmations if that's not how you feel. But if you got something negative to say, you can keep that to yourself, right? So you have to have some ability to not care about what other people have to say and or giving energy to them in doing that. But when it comes down to people who really matter, whose opinions matter, whose existence in your life brings you joy, growth, value, they matter. What they think does matter. You know, as a child, we want to make our parents proud. Their thoughts, their pride in us, their being proud of us, that matters to us. So you can't say a broad statement and say, I don't care what anybody thinks, right? That's not 100% accurate. But you cannot care if they are trying to tear you down with what they're thinking. Go somewhere else with that. So that's one. The second thing you're going to need is if you don't have the capacity to give, if you don't have that capacity to do that, because a lot of people, they will say things like, well, I'm not confrontational and I just don't like to. And that's fine. But if you're going to do something and you know that others' opinions and unsolicited opinions and words are going to affect you in a negative way, and where it causes you to have a lowered self-esteem or anything like that, you're going to need a good support system. You need that one good person that's just got your back. They in your corner. They're the one. Like a lot of friends that I had were people that I met because I'm a big advocate against bullying. So I was always that one person that would step in, like, yeah, try that with me. Like I see them bullying somebody, and I'm like, try it with me, see what happens. Because we ain't gonna do that, you know. And a lot of my friends in high school, that was how we met. And so, sometimes you might not have the capacity, but there is somebody that's in your life that does. And that don't mean that you set them up and become so codependent on them that every time something happens, you're looking for them to come to your aid. At some point, you have to work on yourself and build up your self-esteem and your courage and all of the strength that you need to take care of yourself. So don't get it twisted like, oh, she does that, so I'm going to call on her every time. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. You don't want to take advantage of people. But having a good support system does not come from expecting it. But it's always good to have it. And in order to get it, it comes from the energy that you put out. So give what you have the capacity to give. And it always comes back to you 10 times fold. Right? So don't give bare minimum energy thinking somebody's going to have your back like that. Don't do that. Okay? If there's any questions, please put them in the comments and I will get to them as I see them pop up. So there are a few important questions, 4 very important questions you need to ask yourself. And I did it in the form of journaling. I asked myself these questions because I needed to put these words out and put them on paper and read them out loud to myself and hear it in my mind, in my spirit. Why am I doing this? Why did I want to do this? And things like that, right? So here's the first question. I just said it. Why do I want to do this? Your why is probably the most important factor that is going to get you through the mental train. And the reason why I said that's the most important factor that's going to get you through the mental train is because when I first started getting all of those negative, unsolicited opinions about why I cut my hair off and all of that stuff and why, it didn't affect me. I didn't entertain it. I was like, because I wanted to. Oh, are you going to let it grow back? And you're going to, because I loved your hair when it. Oh, good for you. But no, this is it. It's me. I'm planning to, when I cut off my hair, I did not consider myself a full-on natural beauty. Mm-hmm. I still have ways to go, So my why was a number of things, but primarily is because I wanted to start unlearning and unsubscribing to what the patriarchy has put in our minds is the standard beauty. Long, straight, luxurious hair and all of this stuff. No. That's not what I wanted. And it was not something that was going to happen overnight, because even after I cut off my processed hair, I still maintained my hair in a way where when I wanted to, I straightened my hair, and because I was missing the straight hair and all of that, but I was still causing damage to my hair because I had to use heat to straighten my hair. So then my hair would get damaged, heat damage. I would have to cut it off again. And, so it was a lot of stuff, because at the time when I started straightening my hair and stuff, I was out of practice. I wasn't really doing that much. And I had forgotten a lot of what heat can do to your hair. I learned that the hard way. So when I talk about stuff you should or shouldn't do, it ain't something I don't know. I did it to myself, and I know what it felt like how it can affect people, Yeah. But okay, before I move on, I'm gonna go to the comments. Hi, Susan. Hello, Susan. How are you? So we're gonna go back. So the second question you're asking yourself when you go natural is, when would it be the best time to make your transition? Now, for me, the best time for me was during the winter time, which is why I did it in January of that year. Funny story. As I said, I was a primary caregiver for my chronically ill sister. She was so heavily medicated, she didn't even know. She didn't even notice that I cut my hair off. She didn't. So it was just a handful of people that had their little things to say about me cutting my hair. Again, I did not care. The people that mattered to me, they had my back. They were supportive. It's like, oh, it's different, but they weren't negative. And that was okay for me. So, yeah. But my sister, she had, like I said, she was recovering from the last major thing that happened to her at that time. And she had so many medications in her system that she was just always so groggy. She didn't even notice that I cut off my hair. Right? So fast forward, that was when I did it. I did it during the winter time where I was inside. I wasn't going out that much. So by the time springtime and all that came out, my hair had grown out quite a bit. So nobody noticed that I cut my hair off. So then after that, you ask yourself, what will I personally benefit from this transition? And what will I think of myself? So That's the only opinion that matters when you're going natural, is what you think of yourself, how you feel about yourself, because this is a transition for you, right? Yeah, other people in your life, that's important. What they think matters to the degree of how it affects you, not to the degree of the decisions or the choices you make, but how it affects you, because nothing hurts worse than somebody that you truly love and care about saying something negative about you. That is heartbreaking. That shit hurts. Nobody wants that, right? So that's that. The final question is, how can I navigate this transition in a way that is most beneficial for my mental state? Now, that one was the hard one. I was okay with cutting my hair as long as I held on to the idea it'll grow back. It'll grow back. And that statement can be both a positive statement, but it can also be a toxic statement. And I will explain why. The mentality of saying it'll grow back, you still have in your mind that having long, luxurious, flat, straight hair is that beauty standard. You have the opportunity to go back to it if you cannot handle the naysayers and the lookers and if you can't handle that, you still have that to hold on to, right? And I will be transparent and say that was the mentality that I had at that time. That's why I said when I cut my hair up, that was only the beginning of me going all natural. And I can say to you, the end of me going all natural literally happened last month. And you like, wait, what? But you got locks and all of that? No, 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 no. When I say I wanted to go natural, that I was talking about my hair, stopped wearing makeup. I stopped wearing perfumes and stuff that was unnatural to my body scent. I stopped wearing nail polish. And the last thing that I stopped waxing my eyebrows. I stopped shaving off my body hair, and now it grows in very fine like it used to. It was growing in thick because I was shaving it. But when I stopped shaving it, it started thinning out and getting thin and fine like it used to, and it's barely visible. So I stopped doing that. I started wearing natural deodorants and stuff like that, not using stuff that has like synthetic fragrances and stuff like that. I started really downgrading those things. And the final thing that I did, because I used to get pedicures and polish my toenails, I stopped doing that. That's the last thing that I stopped doing. I've been stopped doing it months ago, but when I took off the last thing, because I had that polish on forever, and I took it off. And I said, you know what? I'm not polishing my nails again. I might put a conditioning polish on it to keep my nails strong and from breaking, but that's it. I am 100% natural. What you see is what you get, including I can't see, so I have to wear glasses. But what you see is what you get. This is me, all of me. And this was what my goal was. But it took years, 19 years of transitions up and down for me to get to this place. So it's not an overnight process. Going natural is more than just cutting your hair. I went through a whole mental and spiritual journey, unlearning those beauty standards and accepting who I was naturally in every way. Right? So now we're going into the top 5 reasons or necessities for cutting off your hair. A lot of times people think that it's just a choice. It's not always a choice to remove or cut off your hair, right? And a lot of times going natural is as what it says, because we're not talking about, oh, my hair is virgin and I'm already natural. We're talking about people who has gone away from their virgin hair and started processing it chemically to straighten it or to bleach it or things like that, right? Removing your natural texture from your hair with these chemical treatments. Those are the things that now we have to remove those in order for us to go back to the natural texture of what our hair used to be, what it once was. And we have a different vision of ourselves, our hair, once we come back to it as an adult versus when maybe it changed. Because a lot of times the change happens in childhood, right? Because again, you don't want to be the only kid in school with the big afro while everybody else got their hair straightened and just so pretty and getting all of the attention. And this is where a lot of colorism comes in too. It's not just with skin color. There is a thing called texturism. So you had the girl that had the finer hair, that was little softer waves, so her hair was stretched out a little bit more. And then you had the girl with the 4C hair, where she had the shrinkage. She had the same length, if not more, than the girl that had the long flowy hair, but you couldn't see it because her hair wasn't straight. So it was always, oh, you bald head. No, she not. If you even knew, you wouldn't be saying that. They'd be like, excuse me, where? Because that's what we do now today. But back then, it was somebody call you that. You're not proving it by stretching your hair. You're running home. You're crying. It affected you so bad. It's like past trauma. The trauma that has on a person. I've been teased about my hair growing up. Like I have my natural hair is beautiful, but again, with these beauty standards and the girls with the long hair and it was straight and flowy and all of that stuff. Yeah. I got teased for being dark skinned. I got teased for being fat. I got teased for having nappy hair, all kinds of stuff. I was bullied when I was a kid, and most of it was because of my hair and my weight. You can't do none of that shit to me now. Not at all. It does not affect me. I'll be like, I've had people say, yeah, but you fat. And I can lose this, but look at your face. Yeah. Clap back. Sometimes I do it. It's a little immature and petty, but yeah, sometimes people need that. No, I'm just playing. So let's move forward into why it's a reason or a necessity for a person to transition back to their natural journey. It's not always a choice. Number one, spiritual growth. The need to cut away the negative energy. And this is something that happens whether you are going from processed hair to your natural hair. And it also happens with people with locks. When people, like, I guarantee if I was like to cut my hair right now, the backlash I would get for it because of how long my locks are. I posted a link check picture today, and my hair is almost 30. I think my longest lock is 32 inches now. Yeah, that's long. That's the longest my hair ever been. But if there's like so much trauma attached to my hair and it's dragging me down, you better believe I will cut it off and start over. Sometimes spiritually, especially if your hair is that tainted, yeah, sometimes you gotta cut it off. Yep. Cut it, and don't just throw it in the garbage. You got to burn it and everything. It has to be destroyed completely. Like, because people would be like, oh, I cut them off and I don't want to reattach them. No, baby, no. That's why I don't reattach locks. The only locks I reattach is like if they had the thing and it popped off or whatever. But if you cut them off because you like, I'm cutting negativity out of my life and you got them in the bag somewhere and somebody said, oh, you can put them back and then you putting all that shit right back on you. What are you doing? Don't do that. So one of the main reasons why people cut it off is for spiritual growth. They need to cut away that negative energy to begin again. Namaste. Right? Comment. Let's see. Hello, Distracted Baby. How are you, girl? How you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hold on, what are you doing? No, I got to stay up there. So, Distractible Me says congratulations. Thank you so much. This conversation, this is Distractible Me is my team leader for Team Phoenix. We're walking for mental health awareness on the 20th of this month. So that's why I said a lot of my talks have been surrounding mental health. And this is my team leader, Distractible Me. So she's here. And I thank you so much for always being supportive and showing up. So let's continue on with this conversation. So the second reason, let me move down here because I don't fumble some stuff up, is in addition to the first reason that I would to remove negative energy, it's also to prepare yourself navigating into your lock journey. Um, that is how Distractible Me started her lock journey. She cut off her hair and grew it out, and we grew her natural hair out to a sustainable length, and we started her lock journey. So we started her lock journey with 100% brand new virgin hair that had no past energy attached to it whatsoever. And that makes that journey so much more joyous. And as you heard me say, she cut her hair, and we took time to grow out her hair before starting her journey. So we didn't rush into the lock journey, right? So that's the second reason. Third reason, this was my reason. Number one was my reason, but number three was primarily my reason to free yourself from chemical processing. That was my primary reason. That was my top reason why I started my natural journey with my hair. I wanted to free myself from chemically processing my hair. No more relaxers, no more texturizers, no more none of that stuff. You know. Fourth one. Now this is where it gets difficult. The fourth reason was involuntary big chop due to hair loss in connection to chronic autoimmune illnesses such as cancer, lupus, alopecia, etc. That is hard. A lot of times people think that is a very easy decision to do that, and it's not. Hair loss when it comes to autoimmune, and this is where I'm going to revert back to when I talked about and told my story when I had alopecia areata when I was 7.5 years old and lost 85% of my hair, and I had little patches throughout my head. What hurt me more is seeing how my mother was crying uncontrollably because she did not know what was happening to her baby. She was washing my hair, and my hair was literally, it took no effort. It was like, if you ever seen What's Love, when Tina Turner was getting her hair, Lisa, the girl, went to go check on her hair, and her hair was just coming out. She was just doing that. My hair was coming out like that, all the way down to the skin. And the effects that had on me, it was more traumatic seeing how my mother reacted and thinking, oh my God, am I dying? And then the teasing and stuff that came behind it. Now, thankfully, I was a tomboy, so I was able to wear my dad's caps because my dad always wore baseball caps. So I was able to wear a cap to cover it a lot. And the parts that didn't fall out was close enough to the edges where you couldn't tell if I didn't have hair unless I took the hat off. So that was part of how I was able to hide it. But for the most part, I wore a hat every day, every single day, all day in school, even when it was hot. And it was hard to get through. But without my mom, I would not have gotten through that. It was hard seeing her reaction, but she was also my biggest support system when she was growing my hair back. So involuntarily losing your hair, you have alopecia and you just have little pieces of hair, no matter how you try to treat it to grow it back, it's just not coming back. And now you have to make the tough decision to just shave it all off and start over again. Same with when you're going through chemotherapy and stuff because you're fighting cancer, lupus patients losing their hair. It's hard when you didn't volunteer to give up your hair. And it's even harder when you don't have a support system, somebody in your corner. So like when I see those videos, those reels of a person sitting in a chair that had to cut off their hair and they have a family member or a loved one with this this full head of hair, and they're doing a haircut for them, and suddenly they turn the razor and they start shaving their own head, and the reaction. I gotta breathe through that because I'm getting a little misty about it. That always touches my heart because I know what that level of support feels like when my mother helped me to grow my hair back after suffering hair loss from alopecia as a child. That's hard. It's hard. So that's another thing. And the fifth reason for or necessity for cutting off your hair is to remove severely damaged hair. Now, this part also is more of a mental change than a physical change. Oftentimes when I would mention, and I have this as one of my questions in my questionnaire when I do my consultations with new clients, on a scale from 1 to 10, what is your comfort level of trimming or cutting off damaged hair when it's necessary? Because I need to know how to approach that, because the way that it affects people mentally, the idea of having to cut off hair can really mess with a person's psyche. It really can. Let me go back for a minute because I want to make it really understood when it comes down to the involuntary chop. So when it comes down to involuntary, and the involuntary chop comes from both the illness and having to remove severely damaged hair. And I wrote this in my notebook. So it says involuntary chopping of the hair, chopping the hair off to chronic illness or severe damage is the hardest, right? And this is I got from an article from the BioShock magazine in 2015. They did like this whole thing when they, so it says there's little to no space or time to prepare yourself for this. Chronic illness that causes hair loss has a tremendous effect on a person's psyche. Okay? The hair loss is a physical effect, but it is the psychosocial aspects that are more severe in these cases. So it's not so much the hair loss that's the issue. It's really people are freaking cruel as hell. They think that it's okay to open their mouths to say the darndest shit to you and think it's not going to have a massive effect on you, but it does. And so hair is a key part of a person's self-image, especially in women. I've had situations where, like I said, a person would come and they want to get a protective style, like a crochet braid or something, and I'll be like, your ends are a little dry and damaged and dead. Can we do a trim before? Oh, no. You don't have to, just go ahead and braid it. And I need you to understand that it's no longer a protective style if first of all, I'm not going to do the installment if we can't at least trim the ends a little bit, like just a little small amount, because I don't want to cause further damage to your hair. And I'm like, well, I can't do this because I know it's going to continue to break. And then you're going to be like, oh, you broke off my hair. No, I did not. I told you what was going to happen. So rather than to continue forward, I never force a person to cut their hair. If you can't do it, the best that I can do is educate you and make you understand what can happen if you continue to try to salvage your length because you're holding on to damaged hair. And because that is such a big part of a person's self-image, I see this more so with women than anybody. And saying, don't cut it off. That's too much. They can't wrap their minds around any form of hair loss. Men can't either, but it's more so when they're balding. But when a woman is about length, it really is. So let me go to the comments. So somebody did have something in the comments. Love you too. So distractible means she said that I saved her hair. I thank you for that. That's important for me to hear because it lets me know what I aim to do is being done. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Moving forward. So there's two ways of making this transition to your natural hair. Big chop, grow and trim. The big chop is exactly what it is. You are literally cutting off all processed and or damaged hair. Where it is either one, when it comes to chronic illness, you're shaving it all off and it's just a clean slate and you're starting fresh. Well, when it's damaged hair or processed hair, you're cutting it down to all the way down to where your healthy virgin hair is, and you're starting from there. It could be wherever it is, but you're cutting off all of the parts of the hair that is no longer your natural or virgin hair, right? The grow and trim generally is, this is something that happens because a lot of women just cannot wrap their head around having short hair. No, I'm not doing that. So like if they have like shoulder length hair or whatever, right? Grow an inch, cut an inch, grow an inch, cut an inch until their natural hair is on their shoulders and they've cut off all the processed hair. So it's grow and trim, grow and trim, grow and trim, grow and trim. That could be tricky though, because if they're not taking good care of their hair, moisturizing and stuff, it can still break off because your natural texture hair versus the relaxed hair is two different types of hair. And then even the bonds, the protein bonds, that's the keratin protein bonds that's in that processed hair is weaker than in your natural virgin hair. So it can still break off like when you're taking care of it. So you have to be careful with how you maintain it, like making sure that it's properly moisturized and things like that. So it's tricky, but it's doable. It can be done when done properly. All right, so let's go to these comments up here. Hi, Vanessa. So Vanessa is on the road, but she is still on here. Thank you so much. She shows up every week and all of that. So that's excellent. We have a question from Susan. So Susan said, listen, I had 5 locks in the back of my head that were literally hanging on my threads. You helped me cut those off, and you've seen how the babies are coming in strong and healthier. Yes. Now, with Susan, she's one of my lock clients. And like she said, that bottom row down at the nape of her neck, they was just hanging on by little threads, little strings of hair. They was hanging on for dear life. And we had a conversation. I didn't just be like, oh, I'm going to have to cut these off. I didn't dictate to her what I was doing to her hair. She was a full participant, 100% from beginning to finish. This is not something that could be salvaged. Because a lot of times people think, oh, y'all can just crochet that back on. It's not that simple. And we don't want to wrap our minds around, oh, we can just fix it and put a Band-Aid on it. We want to be preventive. So sometimes that means starting over so that it is a better. That's why a lot of people have had more than one set of locks, because they learned through trial and error the first time. They got thinning and they falling out because they didn't do the research and stuff like that. And I almost fell victim to it. If I never became a certified loctician and start, got in that class and took that course in the apprenticeship, I probably would not still have this set. I'd probably be on my second set, because I would probably would have lost my locks, because I was still using my heavily dense loose natural hair care products on my locks, which was a mistake because it was weighing and making my locks really heavy and they was falling off. And so I talked Susan through that process, and she was like, okay, we can take them off. And don't get me wrong, when we cut hair, it still affects you emotionally. It does. It really does. So don't think for 1 second that because you cut your hair that, I cut it. No, it's your hair. You got to grieve it. You got to give yourself grace. Don't just think that it's going to be like, yeah, I cut it off and that's that. There's always going to be tears, especially if you spent time growing that out and now you got to cut it away and start over again. Like, darn, it ain't easy to have to go back to the start line and do it again, So thank you for sharing that piece of information with the rest of everybody else in here. So there's 2 ways to maintain that most people maintain their natural hair, right? So the first way is how I was maintaining my natural hair when I first cut off my hair. I was back and forth. I was wearing it natural, curly, wash and go. But when I wanted to, I was straightening my hair. I was flat ironing my hair, doing all of that stuff. And when it was hot, I was cutting it off again. Of course, people barking in my ear. Oh my God, why'd you grow it out and then cut it again? Because I felt like it. Like, how is it affecting you? Like, don't try to get in my head. I did too much work to get here for you to try to get in my head, planting your seeds of negativity. Be gone. So, yes. Now, there's a gray area because, and I'll go into that in a second. So that's the first one. They will maintain their hair in its natural state, but they will still straighten it without use of chemical processing. They will just use with the aid of heat without, okay? The second one is organic natural hair care. Organic natural hair without texture changes. That's what I do. I take care of your hair as it is. I don't do nothing to change your hair. Your hair, it is what it is. Now, there is a gray area when it comes to coloring hair, because some hair dyes, depends on what it is, especially bleach, because bleach, no, that's off the table. Mm-hmm. But other dyes, they do still have an effect depending on what's in it. Like bleaches that have, dyes that have ammonia and stuff like that in it, that's still considered chemical processing. So you have to, it's a gray area when it comes to coloring. It depends on what you're using to color your hair. That will determine whether or not it's organic hair care. Now, there are people who are full on natural. Like, well, if you're coloring your hair, then you're not natural either. Listen, do you? If that's how you feel about it, that's how you feel about it. I can't tell you how to feel. All right. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Healing, 2 ways to transition, good job. Okay, I want you to understand something, and let's be clear about this, because this is something that has, and I think I mentioned this last week when I was answering the questions about people out here lying and saying that they can retexturize your hair. You cannot return or give back somebody's natural hair texture. You may be able to process it in a way to make it appear like it's natural, but you cannot retexturize a person's hair. Okay? And if anybody ever tells you that they can, they are lying. Relaxers strips your hair of texture. texturizers strips your hair of texture, right? Of texture. Even with hair lighteners and dyes and bleach, that strips your hair of color. And even if you can dye the hair back, you're not putting back your own color that was once in there. You're just painting over it, so to speak. So, yeah, you could do this technique to make it look or appear to be, but it's not a way of, you cannot have texture put back in your hair. That's not possible. Okay. Question. Susan expressed it was not easy when I cut off that last bottom row there, but it's still, she says she still looks at them in their bag, call me crazy. Now, in that case, her keeping them in a little zip baggie or whatever, she didn't cut them off because she was cutting away negativity. She cut them off because it was a necessity. They was just hanging on by little strings for dear life. And sometimes you want to keep certain things to just give you a reminder of why you had to transition so that you know not to make that mistake again. Sometimes you need that visual reminder to hold on to. So that's okay. That's okay. And yeah, it is scary. Like, it's an emotional change. Cutting your hair is not always going to be an easy thing. And that's why I asked the question when I do in my consultation survey, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your comfort level when, if it comes down to talking about trimming and things with your hair? Because it's important for me to have that information so I know how to approach the situation. So I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I'm just recapping. Yes, there is a piece of information that is very, 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 very important before I go into the last portion of this. And this piece of information is when I talked about the number 2 reason for people going to doing, cutting off their hair is in the preparation towards moving into their lock journey. So I wrote this in my notes and I'm going to read it aloud to you so I'll make sure I miss nothing. So transitioning to your locks, you need to pause. Well, this is a grieving process, an end of an era, so to speak. Now, some people, they attempt to start their locks with the processed still hair attached. While it's possible, it looks kind of crazy. It does. And most of the time, those people wind up cutting that part off because they're like, ew, why I look like that? Try to tell you, but okay. But transitioning to locks. With my screen. Okay, sorry about that. If you're moving too fast, moving into the process of your lock journey, you don't want to do that. It can affect your psyche. You need a time for a mental tune-up and preparing yourself mentally for moving into your lock journey. The big chop is the lighter part of this process when you're starting your lock journey, right? Mental preparation for locks is a whole nother conversation. So be careful not to rush into your lock journey after you've cut all of your hair off, because you have to mentally process that first. Get used to the idea that your hair is shorter. Oftentimes, women associate having short hair and they'll say, "Oh, I look like a boy." No, you don't. But okay, let's unpack that. Why do you feel that way? And these are questions and conversations that needs to be had. This is the type of conversations I tend to have with a lot of my clients. And I don't try to convince them to feel a different way. We just simply unpack it. What in your mind makes you think you look like a boy? Is it just because your hair is short, or did you have feelings about your features prior to Is that a reason why you've always grown your hair out longer? Did you have some kind of an insecurity about yourself that you want to think about and internalize and work on healing through? So it's important to understand that our hair it plays a major role in our mental connection of what we believe and think of ourselves. And that's why the transition from returning to your natural roots is more of a mental process than it is a physical. It's easy to cut the hair away, but as long as you hold on and adapt to the idea, it will grow back. That's the part of the beauty standards that you're still holding on to. I can still go back to having what is considered the norm when it comes to beauty and hair. Um, but when you don't work on the psyche part, the mental part of connecting to your natural self, you're always going to struggle. And this is something very common, as I said before. I've met many people who has tried to go natural and they let it grow out. But then they was like, oh, I just couldn't deal with the management of my natural hair. And I caved and I went back and I got my hair relaxed again. We see videos about it all the time, reels and TikToks and all of that of people who has gone and had their natural hair for even a few years and was like, I just can't do this anymore. I need a change. And it's not a change. You went back to what you was doing before. What changed? You just returned to what you were doing before because, you know, but it's easier and better to say I just needed a change instead of saying I reverted back to what I was moving away from. Because now guilt starts to set in and things like that. So we're going to go into the comment section, right? Vanessa says, agreed. That starting over is great sometimes. Starting over is great often, but it's not easy. And a lot of people try to make it seem like, oh, it's just hair, it'll grow back. No, it's not. It's still something that you have to make mental adjustments. You know, many people, their self-esteem is wrapped in their hair. It is. And plummeted self-esteem can have a massive effect on your mental health. You know, a lot of depression is based on a person's self-esteem, like from traumatic experiences, and losing or cutting off all your hair. But some can be a very traumatic experience. Even if they chose to do it, it still can affect them because they didn't know it was going to affect them like that. So yeah, starting over, it's always good because you can learn, and it's only good when you've learned from your mistakes and you're able to make the adjustments. So the next time it's a better ride, a better wave, right? Also from Vanessa, said, I'm still conflicted about coloring my hair again. Sis, at the end of the day, if you feel like you have to fight yourself this much, deciding on whether or not you want to color your hair, if there's fear in any part of that, then don't color it right now. You're just not ready. And that's okay. Your feelings are valid. If you don't feel safe doing it because you're afraid what it might do to your hair after you've worked all this time to regain the health of your hair and the moisture and stuff, then don't color your hair. It's okay. Your hair is beautiful as it is, but if it's not a risk that you really want to take, then don't take it. You don't have to. There's no pressure on you to have to do it, okay? And see, you're even validating it for yourself. You said your curls are beautiful where there's no color in your hair. So if you're learning to accept your natural hair as it is without the color or the highlights that you have in it, and that's cool. Because you have, if y'all seen her hair, Y'all see her picture right there, right? She got some gorgeous hair. She does. Right? Yeah, I'm talking you up, girl. I'm talking you up. So let's go. We're gonna do a recap. Going natural is more mental than physical. Bottom line, going natural is more mental. It's more of a mental process than a physical process. Understand that. When you walk into it knowing that it prepares you more for the mental challenges that are a part of the process. Because for any matter of any change that you're going to make in your life, like one of the things that I personally cannot stand hearing people say, like, let's for example, when somebody's going to get married and they'll say, oh, well, if it doesn't work out, we'll just get a divorce. If you go into it with that mentality, it's like you're setting yourself up like to fail. Marriage is not supposed to be about if it don't work out, we'll break up and get a divorce. Marriage is a lifetime commitment. That's why, like with my Loc clients, my particular Loc tribe are people who are committed to their Loc journeys. They're not looking for a temporary style, and then when they get tired of it and they want to change, they cut them off and put them in a bag and say, oh, I can just ask Pammie to put them back later when I want them back in my hair. They have made a commitment, a solidified commitment. They thought about it, and they received education through me on what to expect throughout their journey. And they said, okay, yes, let's do it. And I'm a big part of their journey. Like I said, I'm the support system and the educator for them as well. I'm not just there doing their hair and leaving them to deal with their journey on their own. So that's another big thing. Understand that everybody who cuts off their hair, it's not always a choice. Why did I say that? Because a lot of times people are not mindful of the fact that they are given unsolicited opinions that are harsh and that can really drag a person down and destroy their self-esteem, their self-image, and send them into this downward spiral of depression and self-doubt because of simple words. Words hurt. I don't want to hear that sticks and stone shit. Words hurt. I'm not going to play the sticks and stones game. Because oftentimes a person can say something to you that hurts so bad that they can never unsay it. It is imprinted in your brain. And even if you forgave them and moved on and maybe life is good with them, sometimes something can happen and trigger you to remember the shit that they said to you. And it brings you back to that dark place momentarily, like, damn, that person really said that to me. So be mindful. You do not know why a person may have cut their hair. Maybe they had to do it because it was not a voluntary thing. Maybe they are sick and you don't know and they didn't tell you. You know, you just don't know. So be mindful of how you react to people. Just like with Vanessa, she's talking about coloring her hair to color to not color. Whether she colors her hair or doesn't color her hair, I love her hair either way. I just want you to be certain and comfortable about your decision. I'm more concerned about how it can affect you, how it's affecting you, because you are so on the fence, because you're afraid to do it, because you don't know if you feel like it's too high of a risk. And if you do it and now you are like, oh man, why did I do this to my hair? Now you're afraid that your hair is going to go to hell because you colored it again. That's the part I'm concerned about. I don't want that effect to take place on you. So if there's fear and doubt there, you're not ready. I'm not saying don't do it at all, but right now you're not ready. Okay? This is moving into my closing remarks on this topic when it comes down to stuff. And I've had this happen like with consultations just based on the conversation that I had with a person about wanting to start their lock journey. Um, it gives me an idea if I know they're ready or not ready. There's a lot of doubt in the answers, or, you know, yeah, and so on that. And even when you're in my chair, and my clients know this because they know I feel energy. Like there was too much hesitation in that answer. What's good? Talk to me. Right. Susan, you and I had that before. Vanessa, you and I had that before. Distractible me, you and I, all of y'all who has sat in my chair, if I'm feeling too much hesitation, whether it's in your voice or anything, I'm like, okay, something didn't feel right about that response. Talk to me. What's going on? Right? Because I want to make sure your mental headspace is in a good place. You didn't come here to just get your hair done. You came to get a mental tune up. And most of you leave here with just that. And I'm glad to be able to use my education that I do have from my past as part of my technique in taking care of you. But I need you to understand something. When you feel away, whether it's fear or anything, even shame, I need you to give yourself grace. Your feelings are valid. You do not need to sit in the place where you're trying to figure out a good enough reason for feeling the way you might feel about something. Um, Allow yourself to sit in that for a minute to process it. When you've cut your hair off and you feel like, oh my God, what did I just do? Allow yourself to feel that, sit in that. Allow yourself to grieve the fact that you just made a drastic change. You ended an era. You had longer hair, fuller hair, processed hair for a long period of time. It was not easy when I cut my hair off the first time. I will tell you, I cried. I mean, waterworks, I cried when I cut my hair off. But my tears was because an era was ending, but also they were more tears of joy because it was the freedom that I was seeking. And it was a 19-year process of this for me to get to where I am now. Yes, I still have other mental challenges that I deal with on a daily basis where I can still be triggered by certain things, but my hair ain't one of them. Um, I'm what they call asocial. So sometimes I don't want to be, that's why I can't be in crowds, in crowded places, is because the exchange of energy is difficult for me. I don't know where it's coming from. If I'm surrounded by negative people, I feel that. And the first thing I do is a defense mechanism. I read a room immediately when I come in. This determines what my comfort level is going to be in that space for the time that I need to be there. If I'm not feeling what I'm reading, my time is going to be that damn short. Hi, bye. That's how quick it's going to go. um, but I've never been to a concert. It's not because I don't want to go. I cannot deal with that. I can't be in that space. Um, I had to really fight through being in massive crowds when my children were small because I didn't want them to miss out on things like going to the circus or going to a baseball game or going to a basketball game. And while I was smiling and having a good time with them and enjoying the smiles on their faces, in my head, it was a freaking nightmare, but they had no idea I was going through that, and neither did my husband, because it's not something that I openly shared with people. But I didn't want my difficulties to incapacitate the life that I wanted my children to have. So I sat through going to the circus. I sat through going to a Knicks game or two. I sat through going through a Yankees game or two and going on class trips and crowded buses with loud children and loud people and seeing a fight break out nearby and like, oh my God, and the panic on the inside, but on the outside, I'm like this. um, that's hard for me. So if I can do something and not put myself in that space, which I don't have to anymore. My kids are grown. They don't need me to do stuff like that anymore. And that's also why I'm in a much more peaceful state of mind. Why I choose to be an independent loctician and natural care hair care provider working in my own private home is an environment that I can control. Um, Not just for my clients, but also for myself. But because of the environment I created for myself, it affects my clients in a positive way as well. I keep my home in a very zenful and peaceful state for myself and my clients. Part of my preparation is quieting my mind. So, like, if it's too much going on, like, I don't want nobody coming over and loud, yo, hey, what? Not right now. Not what I can't have that kind of energy being thrown at me when I have to put my hands in somebody's hair. So I prepare myself. I meditate before clients come and all of those things. See, y'all didn't know that. I bring myself to the most peaceful state of mind and being in my home and being able to control this environment and be this person that you see right here before you. That takes work. And it took me years of healing myself and getting to this space. And while I have these mental disabilities, they are manageable at this point in my life when they once were not. So, yes, I do have anxiety. I do have PTSD from past traumas in my life. It can be triggered every now and then. So if I politely exit a conversation, no, it's not you. It's something that's being spoken about that I don't want to talk about. I don't want to go back into that pool of toxicity. Okay? I'm not a person, I don't need to cut people off in my life. People remove themselves when they see it's necessary. Okay. I just don't engage with the BS. You know, I pick and choose my battles. Some battlefields I'm going to keep stepping in. I'm going to step in the arena when I see somebody else trying to fight their way out. I help those who help themselves. When you're not doing it for yourself, I'm not picking up the slack for you. You have to want it for yourself. So give yourself grace. Allow yourself to feel the feelings that you're feeling when you're making these transitional changes with your hair. It's okay. You're only human. So I'm going to go for last questions, and then we're going to close. The last statement from Susan. Oh, yeah, you definitely know what's going on with me from how I answer. Yeah, she know. You absolutely know. So, and it really depends on the energy behind it. If it's something that is, I don't feel is too serious, I won't be invasive. But if I feel like it's really heavy on you, I will invade. I'm sorry, because I can't sit back and not do anything. If I see you drowning and I could swim, I'm coming in there for you, and we're going to swim out together. Simple as that. So I know this was a little bit on the emotional side, but I needed people to understand the mental connections your hair has to your psyche. And going natural is one of those things. Unsubscribing to the beauty standards is part of the process. And it can be difficult when you're surrounded by people that are still attached, well attached to that. Distractible me, you can completely understand and attest to that because we've had conversations. We've even had a live talk on Instagram about that. By the way, I'm going there immediately after this ends. So if you want to join me there for Locs Talk Live after chat in Instagram, join me. Thank you for coming here. Oh, I got one more comment. I'm going to go in here and talk. Distracted with me. I love you. She gave me the hearts. Those green hearts are also for mental health awareness. The color green. Haha. So thank you. So I'm getting ready to transition us over to Instagram. Thank you so much for joining me tonight for Locs Talk Live. I said that I was going to go over the hour, which I did. And I'm glad because I wanted to make sure I covered everything when it came down to this conversation. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. From my home to yours, I'll see y'all next week. Bye.